It's March 27th, 2021, lesson 147. My mind only holds what I think with God. I will not value what is valueless. Let me perceive forgiveness as it is. So, when we say that we share only what I think with God, right? My mind only holds what I think with God. We are sharing one mind with God, if that makes sense, right? We take in consideration what is necessary for us to understand ourselves. So anytime that there is a form of resistance, right, in our lives, that's because it's unconscious, right? So anytime that you have some form of resistance towards something, that's resistance. So presence is the only thing that is shining light to wake up these parts of ourselves. And the best way to go through this enlightened doing, if you want to call it that, is by being conscious of your actions. So anytime you have a moment where you are, doing something or in action you can't really release, to be in that you have to fully accept what is going on and then enjoy it, right? You can be in full acceptance, and that's good enough because you're hitting that cap, you're hitting that courage, acceptance piece. Acceptance is good. And then once you start enjoying things, that's when you start loving things, right? And then the more you do that, then you start hitting this enthusiasm, which is the flow states. So why is that important to understand when it comes to I will not value what is valueless? So let me perceive forgiveness as it is. So as I'm going through my own journey, I recently just had an experience with these tears, if you want to call it that. And it made me feel like I compromised myself. But if I'm always paying attention, right, I'm always doing the right thing, right place, right time. So it doesn't matter what I do, right? Because we have these misconceptions of like what life is supposed to look like. And of course, we're trying to keep our word to a lot of things. So I said that I was going to stay sober or something like that. And then I alter that, and like I'm always trying to find different ways to look at things from a different perspective. So it was the one thing that I knew that I was going to do, which led to my own self-realization. So when you feel like a part of you feels compromised, but like you feel whole in an entirety, then you start to understand that forgiveness is exactly what you need to do for yourself, because without that forgiveness, then you won't be full, right? Let's just say that you take a moment that has defined who you are, and it was the one thing that you said you wouldn't do, then what is right? What is the thing that is keeping your morals intact? And you have to see that as something that is beyond you, right? So when we take in consideration the things that we resist are unconscious, and the thing that is ever pervading and trying to shine light on these things is beyond us, what we conceptualize, or beyond the mind, that anything that we can think of, then we have to respect our elders, if you want to call it that. We have to respect the things that were here before us. The ego tries to act like a god, right, because it's been there the longest, but that's how it gets trapped in its own idea. That is the source of all life and energy. So when you go beyond that, now you take in consideration, okay, why haven't I forgiven myself for this, right? Because like that's how you connected the dots for yourself. That's what made it easier for yourself to find yourself, right? You have to lose yourself to find yourself. And that's really where it starts coming down to, because once you take the things that you said you would not value, right, that are valueless, then you see what is very much valuable in life. You know what is important in life. And mostly it always comes down to love, self-love, finding love, finding people that love you, and seeing it from their perspective and letting them be who they are, because that's what love is, okay? So that love is going to always teach you to forgive yourself, because that is what it's supposed to be perceived as. It's supposed to be this thing that's, it doesn't matter how far you get crucified, like, you didn't do any wrong, right? Like, people was, and there's a whole bunch of other things that are taken consideration, but like, there are things that are so much more important than that small crucifixion that you let people, you know, define you as. The only thing that can define you is you, and not even you can stop you. So like, the only thing that's in the way is this you. You have to show you who you are by being able to look in the mirror and say, okay, this is how I see the world. This is how I perceive the world, and this is how I perceive forgiveness. And when you forgive yourself and you see that you are shown in every single person, then it's very clear that what you're starting to value is a whole different paradigm. It's a whole different belief system. It's a whole different value system than you did before, because now you're really understanding what is the connection that we all have together with this collective consciousness, or unconsciousness, if you want to call it that, according to Jungian philosophy. But yeah, just keep that in consideration.